Hello. This video will introduce the cutting drill for EC sword sport. It goes through the basic strikes and their angles as they would be most useful in a basic competition environment. Of course, there are a million add-ons and alterations and different ways to use these strikes, but this is the basic starting drill for beginner students. First, stand at attention. Draw out your sword into a standard forward on guard, and we go through each strike by name, and we do use the English names for the US Federation. First is the center cut. Lift the sword straight up over your head until the length of the grip is over the top half of your head, centered. When you strike, for pretty much every single strike with these two-handed swords, your left hand is your trigger hand, and your left hand pinky your trigger finger. You squeeze the left pinky, and that starts the domino effect of all of your fingers squeezing to get the momentum of the strike. This strike stops at belt level, parallel to the ground, and you'll probably find that it's your right hand up by the guard that is doing most of the stopping. So at speed, it'll look something like this. Don't mind that the foam sword bends when you strike with momentum. They are meant to be flexible. The key is you should come pommel towards your belly button, but not striking into yourself, of course. After the center cut is what's called the left-right cut. You'll lift up in the same manner over the center of the head, but then you'll pull slightly to your left, about 15 degrees. I'll mirror this so that it makes more sense to those viewing. You pull to the left side of your head by about 15 degrees, and then it's the same idea. Squeeze from left pinky, come down. You're making a narrow diagonal, but the stop point is the same, belly button center. Then you lift up again, 15 degrees to your right, narrow diagonal down to center. So essentially, it looks like you're cutting a very narrow V in front of you. At speed, it will be something like this. Up, left, down, up, right, down. Together. Next, the triple cut, which essentially just combines the center cut and the left-right cut. Up center, cut center. Up center, 15 degrees left, cut. Up center, 15 degrees right, cut. At speed, it should look something like this. The next cut, mildly different, the side cut. We start by chambering. Flip the tip of the sword to point behind you. Now, this does seem counterintuitive, and it kind of is, but for the sake of formal practice, we do a full sweep. From the side view, this is your starting on guard. This is your chambering for the side cut. This will likely pull the grip a little bit out of your left hand. Try to find an angle where you can have all 5 fingers of your left hand still on the grip. Again, left hand pinky trigger finger. Squeeze down the fingers. You want to stop while your point is still in front of you, but diagonal to the side, probably about 45 degrees. Then we flip the tip again, so now we're chambered on our right side. And again, pull across. At speed, something like this. Chamber, cut, chamber, cut. Your hips will turn slightly. Your feet and your face should remain forward towards the opponent. Come back to en garde. Next, the X cut. The X cut, come back up center like we did for those original cuts, but we're going to pull a full 45 degrees over to the side. And with the X cut, we step in as we attack, and we're cutting down the full diagonal of the body, from shoulder to knee. Then we'll lift straight up on that side, step in again, and cut in the other direction. This is a full body cut, and the main key point is do not hit the floor as you cut. You may bend your knees with the momentum of the sword, but never swing hard enough that you're actually hitting the ground. At speed, next, the up X cut. We chamber on the right the same way we would for the side cut. We step in again, because this is a full body cut again. For those who need it broken down into steps, first imagine you point at the ground with your sword, then you cut up until the sword points forward. You don't want to swing all the way up, because that pulls your shoulders to an unnecessary degree, makes it very hard to keep an eye on your opponent, and pulls your sword away from being in a good defensive position. So, chamber at the side, point at the floor, point at the opponent. This is also useful because in an actual duel, if your opponent dodges the initial cut, you can offer a quick thrust to their head. After we do the one side, chamber on the left, step in, same process. Point at the floor, lift up until pointing at the opponent. At full speed, chamber, cut, chamber, cut. All of these cuts are done in a standard en garde at normal height. However, to get in those low attacks, our main method, rather than risk bending over and getting hit, is to take what's called a Sodose, a low stance. If you have bad knees, don't do this to its full degree until you've practiced. To take Sodose, you step in with the right foot, as though you were going for a lunge or a stepping attack. Left foot, pick up, and you will bend the knee. Remember those toe stretches from our stretching routine? Your toes will be at nearly a 90-degree angle, your knee at nearly a 90-degree angle. The point is to have your knee close to the ground without actually touching the ground. It is a very strenuous position even if done right and even if your weight is carried on your thighs. So don't hold it for too long, even if you're trying to do muscle training. We take Sodose stance, and then we just repeat the first 3 cuts of the routine. Center cut, a left-right cut, and a triple cut. Then we come back up, shake out the muscles so they relax. The strategic purpose of this, which has been used to great effect by certain tall players, is to play a little bit of a psychological trick. We prepare, whether formally or competition style, to strike near the head. As we're stepping in and our opponent does a shoulder block to protect their head, we step into Sodose and cut their calf or their knee or thigh. It's basically a change of line. Requires a little bit more flexibility in our large muscles, but can be used to extreme effect because there's no hint of it. A step forward to attack looks the same as a step forward to go to Sodose. Now we'll quickly go through the routine at a normal pace. En garde, center cut, left-right cut, triple cut, side cut, X cut, up X cut, Sodose, center cut, left-right cut, triple cut. En garde, shake it out. Sheave. And that is the basic cutting drill for EC Sports Comto. Safe practice, everyone.